complicated.
Yes.
Hi, everybody. We're back, and I'm with Mark Bonini, and he's the correctional. Tell everybody who we are again.
Chief Probation Officer.
There we go, Chief Probation Officer. And we've been having some discussion with the cameras off, and we're going to get back. We were talking about, like, people say under house arrest. Okay, now, with the GPS, and so that's a way that, that's one thing that I think we do before trial.
Can do a pre-trial and post.
Yeah, how am I going to get into this? We were talking a little bit before about, it's very complicated stuff. But, a lot of people feel that if you're a criminal, you should be punished. Okay, this is even before, because they're under house arrest, so this is philosophical. But anyway, if you're in jail, you can't drink while you're in jail, and you're not going to be able to smoke weed or do any, those kind of things. There's probably other stuff that, I don't know, Anyway, how is it that people under house arrest are held to those standards? Are they?
Yes, and what we do is, and you have two facets, so you have pretrial and you have post-sentence, because we can put either offender on that type of supervision on GPS. Pretrial, what we do is the offender has to want to do it, number one. They could say, I don't want to do it, I'd rather be in custody, but there's not too many people that want to do that. Right. So when they say, I want to do it, we have rules. Some of those rules are, you allow us to come in and do searches of your residence, of all the things that are under your control. You allow us to do drug testing, alcohol testing of you, and then we also monitor anything that we're trying to do as far as services provided to you. Health and Human Services, if it's alcohol and drug counseling, if it's behavior health with mental health counseling, if it's seeing your pastor for some religious counseling, all of those things we're going to monitor and make sure you're doing. Okay. So that's how we have that accountability in place. Now, granted, I don't have that person in your house 24 hours a day, but you never know when we're going to come, and law enforcement can also do the same thing.
Does that happen very often, that you do come and do a snap search? Or
oh, yes.
Something like that?
Quite often. Okay. I get complaints every now and again from those other people in the house. Why are your officers coming here all the time? Why are they here? And really what it comes down to is we're trying to ensure that our offender is complying with what they said they were going to do.
I'm just thinking, it's not like it would be fun for everybody, because, I'm sure the people in the jail treat you with respect, and I'm not sure if at your home, having people coming by and rousting some of the people in the house as well, they're treating you with as much respect as the jailers would. Okay, so anyway, that set aside, now the person goes to court, and before they go to court, though, how do you play into it too in this realignment with the district attorney? That's about who should be charged with the crimes, and how does that go?
The thing is that the district attorney does all those, or makes all those determinations. That's what they're trained to do. Our district attorney does a great job. All of the deputy DAs over there, but the playing field has changed a little bit for them, and I'm sure District Attorney Reby could speak to that. But in general, what has happened is the state with realignment said, counties, you can no longer send a certain population to state prison. If you want to put those people, you want those people housed, you're going to have to house them in county jail. So what it makes occur is that the district attorney then, if he or she has an offense that the person has committed, or they're alleging the person committed, that is a state prison eligible offense, maybe during the course of negotiations, the trial, or whatever the case may be, the plea agreement in some instances doesn't do away with that offense. It keeps it on the books. It keeps it so that the person did plead to that. So in the event that the punishment needs to occur, that the person can be sent to state prison. Because in many instances where if that goes away and there's nothing else there that makes them eligible for state prison, then that person would have to do any time locally. What that creates is there are some counties out there where you have offenders that have been sent to a local county jail, and most county jails are only geared to keep a person for up to a year. You have some instances where you have offenders doing 6, 8, 9, 12, 14 years in a county jail. Again, that was only built to house somebody for a year.
Yeah.
So that creates some problems there. So having a good relationship with the Community Corrections Partnership, of which DA Reby is part of, and have his expertise and the way that he understands the law is very important. And he can drive a lot of what occurs here to us locally. We're very lucky we have him, and he's bought into the system and understands it.
Okay, there's other people involved in making some of these decisions, or at least afterwards. I believe you told me who that was. Who's on that committee, the Community Correctional Panel?
The Community Corrections Partnership is made up of myself as the chair, the sheriff, the district attorney, a chief of police, and in this case, it's Chief of Police Scott Morrison of Jackson PD, the Health and Human Services Director, Jim Foley. Then we have the public defender. Randy Shrout is the public defender currently and heads that office. And then the last member, and I just say it last because this is the last one that came to mind, is the presiding juvenile court judge, or presiding judge of the court. In this case, the code actually says that the judge can have a person sit in for them, a designee. And Judge Harlan, who's currently the presiding judge, has a designee sit in for her, and it's the CAO of the court, or CEO of the court.
Okay. Now, is this system set up, it seems to me like it could possibly be set up for rehabilitation, although it strikes me as I don't know how it would work, originally, because, a lot of people, especially they spend, the time in jail over a year or something, maybe you're learning a craft or some way to have a business when they come back out, as you have brought up, like maybe somebody that's doing 14, 13, some years, but we don't have programs like that. What do we have to help rehabilitate a person there?
Well, if you're talking in custody while the person's in jail,
I guess we're talking a little bit like, maybe out on, afterwards or something, so maybe they're still on GPS, and you can correct me if that's not correct. So, they are limited in their freedoms of movement, and to a lot of people that's punishment, maybe punishment enough, but how is it that, we're maybe obviously everybody isn't a criminal in their heart of hearts, and that's the only thing they can possibly do, but for people that maybe need some skills to make it easier to walk the straight and narrow, what do we have for them?
Well, what we do, we hook them up with various community-based organizations. Luckily we have Job Connection. We send a lot of our people over there to look for jobs, to apply for jobs, to work on their resumes, things of that nature. When you speak, or when I just mentioned resumes, as an example, one of my officers had one of the offenders that he supervises in his cubicle, pulled up on our computer, pulled up a resume format and worked on her resume with her right there in the office. We're trying to do those extra things to at least give this population some advantages, because let's face it, they don't have a lot of advantages just by virtue of being on probation. Okay. So we have community-based organizations we use Job Connection, we use the services of Health and Human Services up the hill here. Anything we can plug them into, we do.
Does it seem like it's maybe easier and way better, because I'm just kind of groping here, but because it is a small community, so people know the people in the community, how to help if they're being helped. Is there any truth or any value in what I'm saying there? Or?
I think there is. In many instances, because we are a small community and people know each other, we have businessmen that come forward and want to help some of these people, give them jobs. The biggest thing I hear from local business owners is, I'll give the person a job. I need them to show up every day. I need them to show up and be clean, and I just need them to do their job. And if they can manage those basic skills, that's enough for me. And luckily we have people out there that do that.
Okay, so once again, I kind of think there is a possibility of a silver lining in this sort of way, because in a way it does put local areas in control of the people in their locale, and they're might not get lost as just being a number somewhere in a giant system.
That's right, and I think that's the key. It does drive down local responsibility. The issue becomes, if funding isn't secured and available, then what? Well,
that was going to be my next question, funding, and how about funding?
Well, that's part of one of the issues we face. Currently the funding for year 2 is somewhat secure. The governor has an
Okay.
initiative on the ballot come November.
Is that where it's secured with the initiative?
Well, it becomes secured and doesn't remain a political football every year for the legislature to have to deal with.
If that passes.
If that passes. If it passes,
Okay.
then it's secured in essence that then it's no longer that football that goes back and forth. If it doesn't pass, then it's something that's going to have to be hashed out, every year, every legislative session, to make sure that the funding is secured and is there for us. Because there's no way I could make this work, or any of our systems can make it work without it.
Well, if it doesn't pass, I certainly hope they get work on it to where it's not every year this is a budget problem. I look at it like it is a long-term, I mean, my gosh, this has got to be a long-term project. This isn't, the idea of incarceration isn't going to go away.
That's right. And I think, the way this is going to play out is the funding's going to, I think, is going to be there. Even if it is something that the governor has to push through every year with the legislature, it's going to come down to stats. And our counties and the locals doing better than the state did. And here locally, I can tell you we're doing better.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. How are the stats?
Well, one of the key stats we track is, the failure rate.
Let me stop you
Sure.
one second. Alan, I'm not sure when we're going to quit, so if you could come on in and give me an idea of the time, I'd appreciate that. And go ahead.
So what we're looking at as far as the failure rate here in Amador County, the state's failure rate was 70%. Currently, our failure rate is 14%.
Okay,
So we're doing much better.
okay. So the failure rate was what?
Failure rate at the state level with this population that's
Okay.
been realigned to us was 70%. Our current failure rate's at 14%. That's
Wow.
one of the key
Wow.
stats we track. So we're doing better.
I'll say, do we have stats? We don't have stats before because it was never done before.
Well, again, those were the state stats. That's what the state said. Their failure rate with this population was 70%. So that they kept that. I didn't keep them. That's their stat.
Well, that sounds like a win to me. Okay, and how often does the board get together to meet? And what are some of the special things that might be happening with that?
We meet once a month, and anybody can come and attend those meetings. So we're continuing to plow ahead, to look at our issues that we have locally, things that we may not have addressed at the beginning, and make adjustments to our plan.
Okay, do we get feedback on from some of the people that have gone through this? Have you got any anecdotal stuff from them? Is it time to say goodbye? It's time to say goodbye. We'll have to keep that question for Mark at a later time. And I'm Tom Slivick. Thanks for watching TSPN's News in Depth. You're watching Amador County's #1 news and sports leader, TSPN.